Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am Mr. Kadim Khan and I am a lecturer in the Institute of Computing, KUST University of Science and Technology. Today we will take lecture number 28 of the subject of software engineering, in which we are going to discuss the software matrix. And here we will discuss the types of software matrix and DRE, that is the defect removal efficiency matrix. Dear students, this is the introductory lecture about the matrix, and in another lecture we will discuss the examples and different other matrices in very much detail. Now this is the discussion agenda. It contains the topics of the matrix. Then we have the measurement techniques, why we perform the measurements. Then we have different example of the matrix. Then we have a good managerial measurements, that how a good manager perform different measurements for a successful projects. Then we have process matrix and software process improvement matrix. Here we will discuss how a matrix improves the process of the software development. And then we have the factors which affects the software quality, means that if the quality is degrading, there may be certain measurements for which these measurements will be responsible. And then we have the project matrix and the product matrix. Now question arises that how big is the program? For example, we have a code of the program or a code of a project. Then how we can specify that this is a big or small? So we can often say that this is a huge program. And also we have a question that how close are you to finishing the project? That means that how you are near to complete your project. So this is a question which can be answered that like that we are almost there, means that we have almost done it. So these two questions, you can see that there is no clear-cut answer of these two questions. That we say that how big is the program, and we cannot say that this is a huge program, but how huge it is, or how much we have completed our task. So this is the manager problem, that the manager takes some useful decisions from the subjective informations. Subjective informations means that these are the subjectives. That means that we have no numerical informations. Just these are huge, almost there. These are the subjects. So we need information like cost, effort, size of the project. That we can measure the cost, we should measure the efforts, and also measure the size of the project. Now for this purpose we have metrics. Metrics are quantifiable measurements, means that it can be represented through the certain values or certain numerical measurements. Quantifiable means that it is a quantitative information. For example, when we go for shopping into the market, we say that I have spent about $20 per day. I cannot say that I spent a lot of money. So how much a lot of money? If I say that I have spent $50 today, so that means this is the quantifiable information. So matrix is a quantifiable measurement that can be measured for certain characteristics of the software systems or a software development process. Characteristics means that, for example, size is one of the characteristics. Similarly, defect removal efficiency is one of the characteristics. Similarly, line of code is another characteristics. There are many characteristics in the software system, and metrics are required in all the phases. That means that there are many metrics which can be used in many phases, but certain metrics can be used in a certain phases of the life cycle model, like LOC matrix, that is line of code matrix. It can be measured in the implementation. Similarly, DRE matrix, it can be measured in the testing. So particular matrix should be used in a particular phase, and every phase have different matrices. Now, it is also required for effective management. Good management uses the matrix. Now, managers need quantifiable information, not the subjective information, because from the quantifiable information, the manager can trace the progress of the project. So, subjective information goes against the fundamental goal of engineering. Means that we cannot say huge, small, good, etc. for the particular measurements. So these are against the engineering principles. Now, what is the measurement? Measurement is an activity in engineering disciplines. Basically, software metrics is a broad range of measurement for the computer softwares, and software process which can be applied to improve it on the continuous basis. We have in fact three different types of measurements. Software measurements, it helps in a broad range of the computer softwares. For example, efficiency is a software measurement. Means that software measurements, software metrics are those measurements which are relevant with the software or the product, while software process measurement is applied on any phase of the software development lifecycle model. So measures can be applied to improve it on the continuous basis. Means that every time when we perform certain activities in the process, we will use the measurement. Software project is a particular measurement that can be applied in an estimation, quality control, productivity assessment, and project control. Like that, if we have different output of every process activities, then at that particular outcomes we can perform certain measurement, and that measurement is called software project measurement, and it can be used in engineering for the decision making. For example, if we have line of code matrix and which represents the number of statements or a computer programming statement which are written by a programmer. So if the line of code associated for the particular person and it shows the productivity of the program is less, so that means that the productivity of a particular programmer is not higher, and it is also very much slow in programming. So that means that line of code also measures the productivity here. Now, why we perform the measurement? We perform the measurement to determine the quality of the current product or the process. When we have to measure the quality, which means that the standards and the satisfaction of the customers, then we perform the measurement. It also predicts qualities of the product and process, means that the quality, the product quality, and also the process that are used to develop the product. The quality of these two entities are measured. So also it improves the quality of product and process. Not only it predicts the quality, also it improves the quality as well. Now, what is the definition of the measurement? It is a quantitative indication of the extent and the amount, the dimension, capacity of the size of the sum of the attributes of a product or process. So matrices or measurement shows that it is in certain quantitative indication of the extent, means that it is not subjective indication, it is quantitative indication of a particular task, and also it shows the amount. Amount is a certain things which can be measured, and the dimensions here means that, for example, the dimension of the room. So it shows the length of the program, and capacity or size of some of the attributes of the product or of the process is called measurement. For example, number of errors. Now, measurement is the act of determining a measure. Means that when we have to measure a particular unit, then it means that we are determining a measure. And a matrix is a quantitative measurement of the degree to which the system, component, or process possesses a given attributes. So usually we perform the quantitative measurement of the system, of the component, or of the processes. And the attributes may be number of errors found per person, hours expended, etc. That means that a person is in fact so much agile or efficient for determining or catching different problems in a software per person hours. Now, there are another terms used for the matrix as well. For example, indicators. Indicator is a matrix or combination of multiple matrices that provides insight into a software process or a software project or the product itself. Means that when we have to measure the software process or a product or a project, then we have a certain indicator inside of the process, project, or the product, and that indicator should be measured. There are two another types of metrics, direct and indirect metrics. Direct metrics is in immediately measurable attributes. For example, line of code, execution speed, defects reported. Direct metrics are showing the measurement at runtime. So the direct measurements are those measurements which can be obtained from the product directly. Means that when the product is available, then the direct measurement can be performed. And on the other hand, indirect metrics are those measurements that are not immediately quantifiable. For example, functionalities. We can count number of functionalities or a particular functionalities, but here we cannot count the complexity of the functionality. Similarly, quantity cannot be counted here, and reliability, quantity and reliability. Now, for example, how we can see that this software is more reliable? The one method is that to count the number of uptimes for the particular period. Then we can say that this software is more reliable. Similarly, we have the fault measurements as well. Faults are certain problems through which if the software possesses the faults, then the software will not be workable. For example, errors are those faults found by practitioners. Practitioner means that developers during the software development. Similarly, defects are those faults found by the customers after the release. Now, why do we measure? How we measure the software means that why measurement is very much important. It indicates the quality of the product. Similarly, it assesses the productivity of the people who produce the product. And also it assesses the benefit derived from new software engineering methods and tools. And it forms a baseline for the estimation. It helps to justify requests for the new tools or additional trainings. For example, if the process is not working for us, that means that if life cycle models has certain defects or it has certain problems, then we will justify that there is required need for the new tools and additional trainings of our staff. It also estimates the cost and schedule of the future products. Means that if we have the future projects which we are going to complete in the futures, then it also helps in the cost, in the estimation of cost and schedule for that future projects. That for cost future staffing needs means that if the productivity of the programmer is too much low as we are expecting, so that means that we require new staff also. It anticipates and reduces the future maintenance needs. That means that if the software's maintenance is required and we have more staff required for the maintenance of the software, then the current metrics will show that the maintenance process is very much slow. So that's why we need the maintenance staff for the future project. Now, these are different examples of the metrics, that is defect rates, error rates are different metrics. and these are measured by individual module or during the development. So defect rates means that number of defects occurred in the projects are the defects that are identified in the project by the software quality assurance cells. So similarly, errors rates are those errors which are found when the project is completely deployed or it has been executed on the user platform, and the number of errors occurs there. And these are measured by the people. Individual means that software quality assurance personnel, and modules means that another module which are connected with the defective modules, and that module is experiencing the problem, and also during the development phases these measurements can be performed. Now errors should be organized by the origin, types and cost. All these errors which are occurring during the deployment of the projects, these are in fact categorized by the origin. Origin means that the particular source from where this problem is occurring, and types means that the types of the errors, and cost means that the cost that will be used to fix the errors. Now what is a good measurement techniques means that what should be the different characteristics of the good measurements. Now a good measurement includes the input for the process and products. That means that process and products are used for measurement as an input, and as an output we produce the process metric, project metric and product metrics. So we produce three different types of matrices after measurements. So here what we uses as a basis is the size or the function. Means that for example we are measuring the size or the functions of a product. So here that means that two inputs will create three different outputs after measurement. So the Einstein says that not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. This is the proverb of the Albert Einstein, that everything that we see around us, can be counted, and they are counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. That not everything that counts can be counted. So that is the good proverb of the Albert Einstein. Now the process matrix. First we will define here the process matrix. Process matrix are the measurement of the software products, such as overall development time, types of methodology used. So the software process matrix is a matrix which measures the process, and the process is the software development life cycle model. Like waterfall model is a software process, similarly incremental model, prototyping model, spiral model, agile model, these are all software processes. Similarly extreme programming process model, these are different example of the process. The process matrix measures the process for every phases of the software development. For example, we have requirements engineering phase, then we have the design phase and implementation phase, and then we have the units testing and integration phase and system testing phase, and at the end we have the deployment and maintenance phase. So all these phases can be measured. So it includes overall development time, means at start of the process until the end of the process, and types of methodology used. That means here we will use particular sort of the methodologies. Now process metrics are collected across all projects and over a long period of time. For example, a big project takes a long period of time for its development. So that's why the process matrix also requires a long time. So it is collected across all the projects, means that it is collected in the different phases of the project. And the purpose of the process matrix is to provide such indicators which gives us long-term software process improvement. For example, there are many software development organizations which are focusing on the particular software processes. CMMI is a software process improvement framework. So it is a capability maturity model for the integration which has multiple phases, and in different phases we use different sort of the matrices. So that's why the intent of the process matrix is to provide long-term software process improvement. And when that particular process is used for the development, that means that a good quality software product will be produced. Now, dear student, this is the end of this lectures. In fact, this is the first part of the lecture, and we will continue this lecture in another lecture. So, these are different references from which I have taken these topics. So, the references are Software Engineering by Ayn Samarwal 8th edition. This book is very much easy and simple books to read. And similarly, The Practitioner Approach by Dr. Raja Pressmans. And this book is also available. These two books are available in KUST library. You can have these books and you can read these books for these topics. And also some topics are taken from the IEEE research articles. So you can also study these articles and you can search on this IEEE Explorer for these articles. And similarly, if you have another questions which you cannot find in these books, you can also send these questions through the email to me. For example, my email is m.kadim@kust.edu.pk, and you can send your email and I will respond to your email immediately as soon as I get your email. Thank you very much.